Thank you, Nicole. We are the research and marketing provider to industry. We're not a political organisation. We just don't set policy for industry. Okay, so my presentation is going to be looking forward. We've got a pretty good basis of what's going on in industry. I can't help be positive. It's going to rain. Bentley's did the modelling at 400 kilo steer at $2.50. Well, they make anywhere now between $3.50 and $4. So that means the price on farm is somewhere between $1,200 and $1,600. So I'm going to obviously set the platform. If it does rain, prices are high, and the global dynamics around the beef industry and the red meat industry in general are very, very good. There's an indication of some of the pricing that we've seen since March 2014 and the upward scale that we've had. Now, the blue line is the Eastern Young Cattle Indicator. So that's a sale yards price for cattle around 220 to 300 kilos across the sale yards on the eastern seaboard. And you can see that's just an indicator of market and how it's risen. The red line is Darwin feeder steers, which you can see is an upward incline, and at a point in time beat the Eckie. One of the only times in our history that it has beaten the Eckie, but you've seen record prices on Auctions Plus for feeder cattle, and Auctions Plus selling cattle into the live export trade, which is also a first. So all quite positive stuff. Live export, we've seen huge live export numbers. So last year, 2014, was the largest ever sell-off of cattle in Australia's production history. Slaughtered about 9.4 million cattle and live exported close to 1.2, 1.3 million cattle to the live export industry. Indonesia's done its best to try and slow the trade. They've had their own political motivations around sustainability and so forth, but in the end they've accepted they're going to need between 500,000 and 700,000 cattle out of Australia year in, year out if they want to feed their population. And there's some of the diversity that's starting to happen through the live export industry. Vietnam's taken a lot of more cattle. There's plenty of talk about where they actually end up, but they go to Vietnam. And that's the main thing. Vietnam's now starting to build an industry around live export. And there is a huge demand through Southeast Asia, which is now complementing the Indonesian market when it comes to live export. But what is happening is you've seen above the line, the dip is the close for Christmas, which happens in the processing sector. Above the black line is our normal kill and the amount of slaughter rate. So you can see in the red circle just how high for the last 2 years we've been above that black line, which equates to about a 22 to 25% increase in the slaughtering rate in Australia above our rolling 5-year average, which has been significant. It's taken about 3 million cattle off our herd. One of the major issues about that kill is that 56% of that kill has been females. If we go to Brazil, Brazil's average kill of females is around 36%. 56% is again about 25% above our rolling 5-year average in terms of females. That means the rebuild is even more difficult. And then we're forecasting a low in the national herd because of these reasons that I've outlined. So we will come down to about 26 million cattle as we come out of this period in 16 and 17, and then take some time to build back up again. The US market. So where's all our beef been going through this increased kill? So this global protein demand, particularly around red meat's been there now for 2 years. But because of the drought, which has been well and truly explained, we haven't seen that global demand, because the processing sector has had product coming through the door. They haven't had to pick a phone up and ask for cattle. Cattle have been coming through and being booked up 3 to 6 months in advance. But the US has now become one of our largest markets. It's always taken a lot of grinding beef, and they've had record prices for their 90 CL grinding beef because their most stable diet's a hamburger, and God love them for having it. But we've also been getting a lot more grass-fed product into the US as well. And it's evolving to a major market for us. And that's around retailers, fast food chains, carving out a competitive advantage and a story to their customers around branding and marketing. Okay, but in the US, so this goes to a little bit of the story that there is a bit of a global downturn in inventory levels of beef around the world. They're only In 2014, they got down to a low not seen in their herd since 1951. So they're at a 60-year low and just starting to increase again, which has also been very good for us in terms of export in the US, but they've also haven't been a major competitor in our export markets either. Currency, thank goodness. If you ask the US for a Christmas present this year, ask for a rise in their interest rate so our currency goes down a bit. Having said all that, there's ebbs and flows. It's going to have a major impact on our domestic market if currency keeps coming down and we keep seeing this global demand for red meat. And one of the things that we always get asked by producers is, why do we not get the same price as the US? We're starting to get back there, but we're certainly being better than probably some of our South American trading competitors in Brazil and Argentina. But the US fundamentally is a domestic market. They have 350 million people. They consume in America 90% of what they produce, and they've had a record low levels of product. Here's another slide back in our domestic market. So what goes back to farm gate at a domestic level from their end retail price? The red is beef and the blue is lamb. So you can see the absolute spike. The spike is fantastic from a producer point of view, very difficult to manage when you're marketing into a domestic market, and you can imagine some of the conversations that's generating when we're talking to independent retailers in Australia and the major supermarkets that we have here. But one way to the sole reason that the cattle one has gone up is, again, this global demand has been there and will remain there for some time. The fundamentals are right for it to be there for at least 2 to 3 years until America and Australia start to rebuild their herds. And one of the ways that we've always spoken about, and one of the contributors to that domestic spike in beef, has been because of the free trade agreements. Not just the free trade agreements, but because we've now got relief in one of our major trading partners, Japan, who had a tariff of up to 40%. That tariff's coming off slowly. Our currency, US not having product, it's helped our exports and helped us capture the global demand that's been out there. All the free trade agreements, that is China, Korea and Japan, for the red meat industry over 20 years, about a $20 billion return. As I demonstrated, the US is absolutely taken off as our number one market. Japan's been a long-term trading partner of Australia. MLA, in one shape or form, has had in-market representation in Japan and Korea and China for nearly 3 decades. What that's led to is that in Japan and Korea, we hold the number one position for imported product. Our sensory testing, consumer testing, unprompted awareness is that the domestic consumer in Japan will buy Australian product twice as often as they will buy US product. And it's very similar in Korea as well. China, number 3. If I took this slide back, they weren't even on the scale 5 years ago. They're number 4, I can't count. Number 4 on that slide, come back in 2020, they'll be number 1. All those roads lead to China for red meat. In both mutton, in all 3, mutton, lamb and beef as well. Okay, I'm just checking the stopwatch. There's the lamb industry. In the lamb industry, I have 80 seconds. The lamb industry is something that we should all hold up as a part of the agricultural industry that's been a real success story. For the last decade, they've increased the value off farm by $100 million a year to over $1.4 billion. They haven't gone backwards for the last decade. In 2009, they were stable, but every year they've added more than $100 million of value to the prime lamb industry. It's been a fantastic story. MLA market reporting, in Queensland alone, 98 different measures each month, from skins to hides to offals, but you can get a lot of data and reporting out of MLA on all the commodities, all the sale yards, over-the-hooks trading, Japanese full sets, end market prices in any destination country as well as the north of the tropic beef report, so reports by region as well. So in summary, the 10 minutes, the Australian cattle supplies are tightening. The US market has come back from its highs, but it's still very, very good. They're not going to rebuild their herd in time over the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to take a long time for them to rebuild their herd. Currency, and hopefully I've portrayed that if any solution comes out of today, you do it on the background that this cattle market and the buoyant cattle market is going to stay with us for some time. So thank you for the invitation. Have a great day.